Hello, I'm Gavin McCleavey, and if you love rugby as much as I do, watch my rants and rambles about the game, and I'll do my best to educate, debate, discuss, promote groups and teams of the beautiful rugby in the USA and, of course, around the world. Now, the objective is to understand the game, as it can be a little chaotic, convince the masses that it's the best game in the world, and most importantly, enjoy watching, playing the most entertaining, explosive sport on the planet. Send in your questions for me at my lovely webpage, gavinmccleavey.com, or you'll find me on Twitter or Facebook. Just type in Gavin McCleavey somewhere and I should pop up. I don't think there's too many of me's around. I'll pick a few topics to discuss on the show and try and do it once or twice a week. For those that have followed rugby for a long time and want to throw an educated opinion out there, I'm all up for that. I don't think there's a person on the planet that knows everything there is to know. I educate myself every day. So let's have it. Help me, help me, help you. Help me, help you. Help the USA understand rugby. Sorry, I had to throw in the Tom Cruise impression. Let's do a quick review of the weekend's European Cup games. The Aviva Premiership, Pro 12s, which is the old Celtic League, and the French Top 14 League. They've been going on for 5 or 6 weeks now, but they've taken a break for 2 weeks to mix it up and play their first couple of rounds of the European Champions Cup and Challenge Cup. Basically, the Champions Cup is the top 6 or 7 teams from the 3 leagues I just mentioned, and they're put into pools of 4, throwing together the best teams in the Northern Hemisphere, which will eventually go through to a knockout stage. Clashing here is always a little different from your regular season games. More people pay attention because it's a chance to see teams that you may not see very often, and us, Europeans, don't need much of an excuse to go on a jolly for a weekend and watch our boys mix it with a different bunch of beasts from elsewhere. Some of the highlights, well, one of my favourite underdogs from last season, Glasgow Warriors, took a comfortable win from supposedly in form Bath of England. Glasgow were surprise runners-up of the Pro 12s last season. So far right now, they're right up there again this season. I think Europe needs to start taking notice of Glasgow and taking them seriously. My best guess is that most clubs think they don't believe Glasgow has the strength in depth. And they may be right, We'll have to wait and see how the season pans out for them. They don't have any superstars other than a few Scottish international regulars and 2 fancy foot Fijians, but it seems to be working. And Bath looked very average after several weeks of what looked like greatness in England prior to this weekend. 37-10 to Glasgow. Well done, lads. What seems very apparent this weekend is the amount of home wins, 9 out of 10. Obviously, teams are travelling a little further in the Euro competitions, and it told this weekend the only team to win away from home was Munster from Ireland, narrowly winning away at Sale, 26-27, a real nail-biter, and a great advert for European rugby. I love it. 26-27, you can't beat that. And now, a big mention has got to go out for Llanelli Scarlets, playing very well against the mighty Toulon, last year's winners, an all-round megabuck star-studded evil empire. Scarlets did eventually lose out 28-18, but they made Toulon look average for most of the game, something they certainly aren't, and Scarlets until today certainly were. Great work, Llanelli Scarlets. I'm very impressed. In the secondary European competition, the Euro Challenge Cup, basically all the other clubs in the aforementioned leagues, the Premiership, the Pro 12s, and the French 14, Gloucester were a highlight for me. Finally found out what the game is that they like to play, which turns out to be fast, counter-attacking, hitting the gaps, and offloading cleanly. It's as easy as that, wasn't it? Gloucester have been bumbling around all season, unsure of themselves so far, but they looked great today. They put 55 points into shell-shocked Brive from France. Charlie Sharples needs a definite mention. He made his 150th game for Gloucester, scoring 3 tries. He's been a bright light in an otherwise mediocre Gloucester squad so far this season at fullback. He looks very high on confidence and in great shape. The afterburners are still working for him. Very happy for him, and hopefully a turning point for the club that should be doing well a little more consistently going forward. Now, rugby has always been good about developing the game in other countries, and we do have several Italian teams now in the Pro 12s and the European competitions. But I want to give a mention to a Romanian team that made the competition this year, Bucharest. They got beat 43-19 by a struggling Newcastle Falcons team from the English Premiership, but it's great to see lesser rugby nations getting involved, as it can only help the game grow. Internationally, it has worked for Italy joining the five, which is now the six nations, and Argentina being involved in the Southern Hemisphere is obviously paying off dividends. As a couple of weeks ago, they finally beat Australia in a first full international. A very big deal. This is a big deal in the rugby world. Argentina beating Australia. Now, within a few years, they've started to get results against the best teams in the world. So I'm looking forward to see Romanian clubs or anybody else that wants to get involved at that level and be able to deal with the best in Europe too. It's exciting things are happening in rugby. All these teams will be playing in European competition next week too. Then we'll be back to their normal home country schedule the following week. I'll preview those games later this week for you. In the meantime, get yourself on BN Sports TV for recent week's games that are rerunning from the Aviva Premiership and the Pro 12s. This weekend's games have been played on ESPN3. I actually found it on Apple TV. Learn the game. Tell your friends. If you want to get involved in playing, shoot me an email. I'll gladly point you in the right direction. Again, comments, questions, points for debate on how the game is played and gossip, etc. You can contact me at gavinmclevy.com, Twitter at gavinmclevy, or Facebook, carrier pigeon, the occasional snail mail. I don't mind that. I don't mind getting a piece of mail as long as it's not a bill. Alright? However you want to get in touch. Thanks very much. I'll see you soon. Take care. See you later, mother ruckers.